Okay, I just want to say a welcome to all of our parents and all of our students for the coming school year. For the past 38 years, we've just set a date for opening, and people drive up, drop their children off. We walk into the classrooms and start classes. But unfortunately, this year's going to be considerably different. Our staff, teachers, Brother Bill, Seth, they worked hard trying to make a lot of adjustments as a requirement because of the virus situation. But we feel like that we're probably ready for a new school year. When students come in, it'll be different. The Learning Center is going to be set up different than what they're accustomed to. But we feel like that we've done everything we can for all the safety precautions. Also, the students, when they come in this year, they're going to be some new folks on staff. Brother Isaac Reed will be in the classroom, and probably they'll even see his wife running to and fro, cleaning and doing different things and so forth. But also, another major change is for 38 years, I've been administrator of Trinity Christian School, and I've enjoyed all of it. But starting this year, Seth is the new school administrator, and so he'll be in charge of the day-to-day operations, and feel free to call him anytime you'd like to. But I want to thank all of you parents for trusting Trinity Christian School, with trusting us with your children. And we don't take that lightly, but we feel like that we still offer the option of a good quality Christian education. And I just want to say thank you so much for putting your children in our care and trusting us to educate them well. Also, I'll be around periodically, but I'm just simply going to be in an advisory role after 38 years. And I want to challenge all you parents especially to pray for our staff, not occasionally, but pray for them every day, and pray for your children that this will be the best school year that we've ever had in all of our 39 years at Trinity Christian School. And I pray God bless you and your families. We love you dearly.
Hey everybody, I want to say welcome to our Parent Orientation this year, and say a special thanks to the parents that are watching. We know this is much different this year. Normally we can get together and have an in-person orientation and have a time of fellowship. But we didn't think that would be wise to do this year with all the other regulations that we're going to need to be enforcing during the school year, which is why we decided to do it on video, and hopefully can go in depth and answer some of the questions that we know we're going to have. If you watch this video and read the stuff that we send you in the mail and you still have questions, don't hesitate to give us a call, and we'd be glad to help out any way that we can. We have sent you some stuff in the mail. If you haven't received it yet, you should in just a couple days. But one of it is just some written information, general information. Really, a lot of it is what we're going to cover here on this video about entry into school and then dismissal. But we've got some of that written information. And we also have a couple forms that we're going to need you to sign and mail back to us. And we'll put an envelope in there that's already got postage and everything on it. So if you could just sign those and send them back. One of them is just a statement saying that you watched this video and that you've read everything that we send you in the mail. And then another one is just a form that will protect our school in worst case scenario if someone gets sick later in the year. It's just something that will help to protect us. And so if you could sign those and get those back in the mail as soon as possible, that would be great. And so there are some things going to be different this year. And so I'm going to let Brother Bill explain a lot of those things that have to do with the classroom procedure. And so we'll let him do that right now.
Well, hello. We want to welcome you to the 2021 school year here at Trinity Christian School. I will have to say that, as you're well aware, things will be considerably different this year over last year. And the biggest part of it is going to be the issue with social distancing during the COVID-19 problem, shall we say. We will have several adaptations to the ACE procedure and our daily procedures that Brother Seth and I are going to cover in this video. And so we do ask you pay close attention and abide by the directives that are given by the state over masking and things like that. We'll go over that in some modest detail here in the next few minutes. I want to start the day with the arrival. Things will seem more difficult basically from the time you roll on campus. I think we'll get used to it, but the arrival will be where it'll start, where you'll see the biggest difference as parents in the daytime routine. Brother Seth is going to go over that and show you exactly in a walkthrough how that'll be handled. So I won't take the time to do that right now. But where it'll pick up is after they're here, and he'll cover a little bit of this, but essentially now the students will need to go directly to their offices. The office arrangements are going to be different. As you can see behind me, first of all, we have these glass windows. I'll talk about that briefly on the score tables. But the students will sit in either ends of the office units. So the way it works out, they'll be spaced all the way down, separated by one office unit, including between the office assemblies themselves. So they're going to be spaced from each other. We anticipate at this point to have the students basically sit by family where possible. If we have to put students immediately next to each other, they will be from the family group. Right now, we don't anticipate that. We'll see how the year progresses and whether or not we add students or so on through the year. The kids are used to coming in and scoring right away in the day. They know this routine. They also, those who have no homework, will come in and want to play games or work a puzzle or something like that. The scoring is okay if it's done in order, and I'll go through that with the students on the opening days of school. We can't allow them at this time to play games together at the table. I know that's a disappointment. They like to get in and socialize with each other. They can do that, but it's a social distancing issue, at least for right now. So that's a problem that we'll run into. The scoring, they'll need to score their homework. I'll go through that in just a minute here when we get to that. But they'll need to come in with an intention of scoring or working in homework, starting the day's work, setting their goals. They know the usual routine for that. It's just the social distancing needs to be maintained as much as possible. During the work time, there should be more focus on work now because so many things have been changed because of ACE. When I talk about homework, hopefully there'll be less than that. The movement around the Learning Center will be considerably controlled. Oftentimes, a student will need to go to the video, something like that. They will be allowed to do that, but then when they finish, they're going to have to stay there, raise their hand to be dismissed back to their seat. All of this to maintain the social distancing. Scoring is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to move down here. Each student will have a specific place to score. For example, Jimmy will be allowed to score in this place only. Right here is going to be some scoring pins that will be Jimmy's scoring pins. These score keys will be Jimmy's score keys. He will, as much as possible, not share his scoring materials with any other student. This is, of course, to maintain the social distancing. In this same score station may be Jimmy's brother or sister, and he or she will have their score keys here, and they'll use the same score pens. As much as possible, families will use a single score station. If the student has no siblings in the school, they will have a score station to themselves. So we have to really watch how this goes down. All of this, of course, to maintain social distancing and to minimize exposure. As far as the videos, we do ask among the supplies, and there'll be a new supply list coming out, by the way. We do ask that the students have their own set of headphones for the videos. They will have to share the computers and the discs. That will all be sanitized, but they need to have their own set of headphones. We can no longer allow them to share their headphones. Testing will be the same thing at the testing tables. They're used to that. There will only be 2 students at the testing tables, placed extremely far apart from each other. That is, at either ends of the table where they maintain the social distancing. Lunch and chapel are going to be a little bit different. They're going to be assigned seating, and that will be by family. When they go to the lunchroom, they will have a table. All of a family will sit at a table to maintain their social distancing. We do ask, and this is going to be in some of the written material that we send home, we do ask that you not send anything that needs cooked at school. There'll be no microwaves, no stove available for that. Everything needs to be pre-prepared and consumable or purchased from the concession stand right as they need it. And those orders need to be in by first break. The first break will be the regular time, 9:10 in the morning.
All right, one thing we know is going to be real different, and Brother Bill mentioned some of this and what he had discussed, but entry to school and the dismissal from school will be a little bit different. And so to save confusion, we wanted to show you exactly how that would work. So we've put together a little demo to show you how you'll drop your kids off at school, and then also how you'll pick them up. And so if you would watch this part with your children, if you could maybe pause it or something and get them in there, so they'll know what's expected of them when they come into school every day. And so we hope this is a help. When you arrive at the school in the mornings, you can pull right up to the front door and start forming a line. You can drop the students off right there in the front. However, we ask that you do not drive away until your children have been checked in by our staff. Now, the students will need to wear a mask as they exit your vehicles, and there will be staff waiting just inside the front door to take and record their temperatures. We do have to keep a record of all the students and the staff temperatures every day this year. If a student's temperature is 100.4 or higher, we will have to return them to your vehicle, and they'll need to be taken home for the day. Now, after their temperatures have been recorded, they can take off their masks, and then you'll be signaled that it's okay for you to drive away at that point. When the students get checked in to the school, they will go immediately to the classroom and to their own desk. The storage units, or the cubbies as the students call them, will be closed, so the students will store their backpacks and lunch boxes on the floor right underneath their desk or under the empty desk right next to them. At the end of the school day, we ask that you form a pickup line in front of the school just like you did to drop them off at the beginning of the school day. Then we will dismiss the students from class by families in the order that your vehicles are in line.
All right, let's talk about supplies that they need. We'll be sending home a supply list. Brother Seth is preparing a mail out, and there'll be a supply list. But a few of the things that the students usually run out of and try to borrow from others, we can't do anymore. And there are some shared resources that we can't share anymore because it's too hard to sanitize a dictionary or some of these supplies. First of all, they need writing instruments. They need a pencil or pencils. They'll need several pencils. Those pencils can be wood or mechanical. The wooden pencils tend to function better in PACEs. They will need a pink eraser to go along with their pencils. They need a blue ballpoint pen, and blue only, not black, not light blue, but just a standard blue ballpoint pen. They probably need 2 or 3 of those. Each student needs his own or her own ruler. They'll need a ruler that has inches on one side and centimeters on the other. They learn both sets of units. If they need a compass or a protractor, they'll need to provide their own. We were sharing these items, but now we need to provide our own. And the compass doesn't have to be fancy, but there are some compasses that are better than others. So be a little selective. When your student comes up to where they'll need those things, we'll communicate home with you that needs to be provided if they don't already have it. And you'll need to go to Coleman's or someplace like that and find a decent one of those. They'll need now their own dictionary. We can't provide those, even though ACE would recommend that under COVID, simply because of the social distancing and the problem of sanitizing a book. So they'll need to go down. This happens to be a New Webster's Expanded Dictionary. It's not a bad little paperback dictionary. It's not very expensive. I think it lists for about $7.95, probably available at Walmart or somewhere. It's a good little dictionary, handy, it fits in the office very nicely, and it's complete enough to really help them in their etymology studies and word building. They will need their own King James Bible, and we had some students that misplaced them or took them home. They need to have their Bible at school. If there's anything that makes a Christian school distinctively Christian, it's our clinging to not just a Bible, but the King James Bible, and they need to make sure that they have their own. We have some King James Bibles on the shelf. Again, social distancing really limits the sharing of these Bibles. So please make sure that your children have a King James Bible of their own. Another thing is any kind of paper, scratch paper. Generally, unless the PACE directs them to use scratch paper, we prefer all the work in the PACE to be done on the workspaces that are provided in the PACE. But occasionally, because of the size of handwriting or the amount of space given, this can't be done. So we do ask that they have their own paper, and we also ask that each student have at least one spiral-bound notebook. I'm not sure at this point, Brother Seth and I are talking about it. We may, for the older kids, high school level kids, teach a Bible doctrines course of the Bible doctrines that are most useful to an adolescent. And so they'll need that. That will be a graded course with credit, and they'll need their own notebook for that. And here's an item that is always problematic for every student, and that is facial tissue, Kleenex, nose blows. We need to make sure that each student has their own box of these. If they run out, we need for you to send another box. Otherwise, we will have to sell them some facial tissue from the concession stand and apply that to your bill. And I can't emphasize enough. Now, during the day, they're going to be instructed that they do not keep these in their office. And that I'll go over that when we talk about the breaks, which is next. We'll take a look at that because these are a real source of problem for the students and sharing and all of that, and we really need to limit that. So then the last item in the list here got knocked over is have them provide their own little bottle. We will have sanitizer, but these little bottles of hand sanitizer are handy, especially if they will use them. I know the whole place is going to reek of hand sanitizer. Do be careful of the hand sanitizer that you purchase. There are some that are made in other countries that have dangerous chemicals in them. Recently, if you're following the news, you know there's one that came out that had what's called methyl alcohol or methanol in it. That is a dangerous chemical. It doesn't need to be in it. I think most of that hand sanitizer came out of Mexico. Make sure that it's a quality hand sanitizer. It does not have to be alcohol-based, but it does need to be a proper hand sanitizer. This is Equate brand. It has a moisturizer in it that leaves your hands smooth. I'm not sure if that's necessary, but anyway, that's something to think about. But they do need to apply that. We will have bottles of hand sanitizer around the school for student and staff. Now, let's talk about the breaks. Biggest problem we have at break is the students fail to use the restroom, and within 10 or 15 minutes after a break, they need to go to the restroom. As much as possible, we want the students to take their breaks outdoors. That's the door behind me here. That leads out to the play yard. But they also need to make sure that they go to the restroom. So we will be monitoring to try to maintain as much as possible the social distancing while students go and use the restroom and also get drinks of water. However, the water fountain will no longer be available. It's very difficult to keep those things sanitary, so they'll not be available. So the students will need to have provided for them bottled water or buy it at the concession stand. But generally, drinks need to be taken between class periods, that is at the break time. Though, and here's something that'll be a little shocking to those of you who are familiar with our school, they will be allowed to keep that water bottle in their office. They just can't drink it during class time. So breaks will be for restroom, they will be for getting a drink of water, and then for going outside and playing. We haven't worked out the details on how we'll do indoor breaks as yet. Brother Seth will have more to say on PE later. So that's something to seriously consider. Make sure your students bring a water bottle. Now, if your student doesn't drink a whole lot of water during the day, you might want to save money by buying the little half bottles. I know several students who will get a half-liter bottle, drink that much off the top, and throw the rest out. That is not economical for you, and it really adds work to hauling out the trash because we have to dump all that water. So you might want to consider half bottles.
All right, we want to take just a second to talk about athletics. We know the kids and parents alike have been worried about whether or not we're going to be able to play sports this year. As you know, we play basketball for the boys and volleyball for the girls. And so it might be different this year, and it may not be a full conference schedule like we normally do. We're still waiting on confirmation on all of that. But we do expect to have sports. We do have schools that want to get together and play and have fellowship and let the kids play. So we're still planning on playing several games throughout the school year and want the kids to get plenty of athletic time. And so the rules for those events may be different than our school regulations because we're dealing with other schools. And so we will announce those as we get closer to it. And so just to ease your mind, we are planning on playing basketball and volleyball this year. And we're still working on formulating the plans for practice. We are going to try to have as much outside break time as we possibly can. Some of our practices may actually be outside this year. And then when we do have to do it indoors, we'll be sure that everything's sanitized properly, that we'll sanitize all the balls and all the equipment that we'll be using and keep as much distance as possible. But we do think it's important that we let the kids burn off some of the energy that they have and be able to compete in good competition. And so we fully plan to have a sports season this year. So we just wanted to ease your mind about that.
Let's talk about homework. This is always an interesting problem for the kids. All of our students will know within a week or two of the beginning of the school year how to set their goals. The goals will be set. I have essentially a requirement for each student. Generally, I want them to do a total of 24 to 28 pages, individual pages of pace work each day. That will allow them to finish the amount of pace work each year. By way of review, let's talk about 1 year of pace work is 12 paces completed in a single subject. So if you take the pace that they're in right now, count out 12 paces, that's 1 year's work. I have students that very handily do 15 paces of work each day, each year. They cover more than a year's work, and that's good. I don't want a student to get too far ahead, but if a student is deficit, that's fine. It allows them to close in on where I would like them and where they need to be. But that involves getting the work done either during the day or during the night. Now I'm holding, this is the ACE homework slip. It's quite a bit brighter than the ones we've been using. The ones we've been using were homemade. But what I want you to do as parents is to assume that there will be homework every day. Now, some of the younger students are handily going to finish their work each day, but because of social distancing, there'll be some time left at the end of the day for artwork and other things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they will stop doing work, especially if a student is deficit. They will continue to do pace work and an effort to try to catch up some. So when the homework is assigned, it'll be assigned on this sheet. Look for this. The yellow and green says homework assignment right on top of it. I need for you parents to sign these even if the student doesn't do the work. That's a disciplinary issue that we'll deal with the next day. But I need for you to be aware that there's homework. Some students have come to me in the past and said, well, my mom or my dad won't sign it until it's done. That's not what this slip is for. This slip is to make you aware that it is done, that it's given, even if it doesn't get done. So please do look for this and make sure that it gets signed. That brings us pretty much to the end of the day. Dismissal, as with everything else, is going to be by family group. Dismissal to lunch, seating at chapel will be by family group. Well, dismissal at the end of the day. Now, the kids like to leave the learning center and play around in the gym. We need for them to go directly to their vehicles this year and not hang out. I hate to say that because I like for them to enjoy what they can of school. I don't want school to become a drudgery. I fear that this year is going to be different enough that some of the kids are going to complain. It's so different. It's so much more like the Army or something. You know, it is going to be more highly disciplined. the restoring of score keys to their own stack, the putting of score pens back in the box, staying in their seat more, is all going to be part of the new day until we A, get used to this, and B, the pandemic is declared ended. So help us out with that. If they come home and complain, encourage them. If they seem to have trouble with schoolwork, if they seem distracted, feel free to call us. We'll see if we can't work issues out. And we'll try as much as possible to keep things upbeat, to keep things positive. Some things that they're used to earning will not be allowed to be earned. And that's going to seem discouraging to them. The kids have probably told you about the S marker where they can go to the score table when they need it. This year I can't do that because I have to more carefully control the scoring. All of the students will have to use their score flags and things like that. It's going to seem like more pressure. It's going to be certainly much more work for us. We're going to need to sanitize the scoring stations every day, several times a day, and so on. So bear with us. We didn't bring this on, and be encouraged that the Lord did not wake up one morning and say, oh my, what's happened to Trinity Christian School? It's so different now. We're trying as much as possible to be the same, but help us out in that. Encourage your students, pray for your students, pray with your students, and we will endeavor as much as we can with God's blessings to make this a good school year. We thank you for your trust in us. We really appreciate it. We know that it is a sacrifice for many of you to put your kids here, to bring them here every day, and to pick them up in the afternoon. And we understand that. We appreciate it, and we thank God for it. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you for your attention, and we'll look forward to a good school year.
All right, so we hope this video has been informative. We know it was a lot of information. And so if you do have any questions, just let us know and we'll be able to help. Be glad to help any way that we possibly can. But one more thing we wanted to do is introduce you to a couple of our new staff members this year. This is Brother Isaac and Miss Sodi Reed. And so they'll be joining us. And so we couldn't really introduce them in person because we're not having our parent orientation. So we wanted to introduce them now, just so you know. Brother Isaac will be helping out in our classroom, and will really be helping me out because of a lot of pastoral duties. I haven't been able to be in school every day, and so it'll be good to have another man around to help Brother Bill. And then Miss Sodi will also be helping in the classroom some, but mainly she'll be helping Miss Kim with some office work and working in our concession stand and doing some of those things. And so let your kids see them so that they know this is not just some stranger that's showed up at school, but they're going to be helping us out full time this year. And so we wanted to introduce them to you before this was over. But again, thank you so much for watching and for reading all of the information. We know it's going to be a different type of school year, but we do expect to have a good time and to be able to provide your kids with what we always hope to, which is a good quality Christian education. And so we hope you have a good rest of the summer and look forward to starting school on August the 24th. Thanks.